Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
This show is happily sponsored by MetaGeek. Wi-Fi is awesome when it works, but when it doesn't, the problem is usually a mystery. Unless you have Insider Office by MetaGeek. Insider Office quickly scans your wireless environment and recommends ideal channel selection to help you make your Wi-Fi awesome, and keep it that way. Check out the solutions at metageek.com to get started, and get your Wi-Fi working the way you want it to. Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. I am Roel, your host, and I am joined by Francois Vergis. How are you, Francois?
Very good. Hi, everyone.
Just want to welcome you guys to this episode as we continue the series of Wi-Fi applications that we use on different devices. And we started off talking about Wi-Fi apps for Mac OS, and then we did another episode for Windows. And now we're on this episode, which will talk about Wi-Fi apps that we use in iOS, which would be your Apple iPhones, iPads, or iPad minis. Now, the thing we'll preface this is the iOS does not give you that much control over what you can do with your adapter, your Wi-Fi adapter, but there are some really good apps that you could use to help do your Wi-Fi testing and just kind of see what's around in your environment. And so we're going to talk real briefly about several different apps that we use. And I guess I'll start off with the first app. I actually use this app quite often because it has a number of tools built into it. And that's Hurricane Electric Network Tools. And the Hurricane Electric Network Tools has, there's like more than 10 different tools in there, but the ones I use the most is it has a built-in iPerf 2 and iPerf 3 tester, and I actually use that quite a bit whenever I'm out in the environment to test throughput. Do you use Hurricane Electric, Francois?
Actually, no, I've never used this one. I used to own an Android before, and I bought my first iPhone maybe a month ago. So I'm all new to the iOS experience. So no, I didn't get the chance to use this one for iPerf, but preparing the episode, I downloaded it, and it's really nice how it can be an iPerf client. So I'm guessing you need an iPerf server somewhere set up.
Yeah, and I have what I do in my environment is I have a Raspberry Pi as my iPerf server, and so what I really like about Hurricane Electric Network Tools is that it has both iPerf 2 and iPerf 3. And so generally I'm using iPerf 2, and I can just set the server, and you could use the different flags on here as well, but it's really simple to use, honestly. Like there's not much to it. It's got a really easy interface, and you can do iPerf on there, and then you'll get your results. And the other tool that I use within Hurricane Electric Network Tools is the you can use Bonjour browser. So if you're troubleshooting Bonjour, maybe you're configuring it on your wireless network, you can turn that on and see what's playing on Bonjour using the Bonjour browser. You don't need to download an app on like a laptop or a computer. You can just walk around with your phone and see what you're getting over the wireless network. Those are really two of just the basic Wi-Fi apps that I use. It's got some other tools that's handy in here as well, but they're not really Wi-Fi specific. But two of them is the ping sweep and the port scan. So ping sweep I usually do if I can just want to scan what is on that wireless network, that network that I'm currently sitting on with my phone, with my wireless device. And then the port scan is kind of figuring out what ports are open. So it's kind of like a security app to use on your iPhone. But it's got some other tools on there, like ping is usually what I'll use if I just want to test connectivity. But really, primarily, I use Hurricane Electric Network Tools for iPerf tests because it's just a simple interface for me to use.
Yeah, and it's a unique feature. you also have information about your network interfaces. So if you connect it to the Wi-Fi network, you'll see your MAC address and your IP address.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's got some really good information in there, and trace route if you need to figure out, okay, if I'm on Wi-Fi, what's my network path to the destination? So it's like a slew of tools within one. It's got a dashboard, and you can with the iPerf test, you could actually when you do the test, send it to like your notes application. You can email it to yourself, so that way you can save those results after you do the iPerf test for whatever reason.
Okay, that's not the network tool app I use. I use another one called Network Tools.
Not to be confused.
Not to be, because it's the same name, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's called Network Tools, and it has a very nice design. It's like, I don't know if you know it. It's like a darker background, and then you get all the information about your network interfaces, DNS configured. Do you have internet? And then you have a set of tools. You don't have as many tools as the Hurricane Electric, but you have discovery, ping, trace route, client. You can test if a port is open. You can do a DNS request and a lookup. So yeah, that's typically the one I use if I want to find out what IP I have, and like those quick network settings.
Cool. Yeah. So it's very similar, just a different version. So the one that I was using is called Hurricane Electric Network Tools. And then yours is the one that you have is just called Network Tools. So if you do a search for, I guess, Network Tools, you should find both of them. But yeah, both really great apps. They for me, it's just about getting information really quickly. If I'm using my phone, my phone is kind of like my Swiss Army knife. I try to do everything with it. If I have an app to do it, I will do that. So it's a great tool to bring with you since it's small, and having all the apps that we use to test with Wi-Fi, that's perfect to have all those different nifty tools that you usually have to download on a laptop, every single one, right, individually. And you have it right there in a single pane of glass with the application. So that's Hurricane Electric Network Tools, and then the other one's called Network Tools. Now the second one I don't own, but I have seen it in the third one. I don't own it, but I have seen it in the wild from Drew Lentz. He uses this tool from I think it's pronounced as Osmium. Might get that wrong. But it's a spectrum analyzer that you could add to your iPhone. And so there's an adapter that you attach to the end of your iPhone, which is your spectrum analyzer. And then there is a piece of software, an app, which will display that on your screen. So it's like using Channelizer, but you have it in the small form factor in your hand. And so there is an adapter that will just do 2.4. It'll display that on your screen. And if you need the 5 gigahertz, there isn't an adapter that does both 2.4 and 5. And the first time I saw this was at Interop ITX this year, and Drew Lentz was there. And we were in the, what is that? Where all the vendors are. It's a big conference room where all the vendors meet with everyone that are attending the conference. And we noticed that the conference room, like the area, was using, there's a lot of Cisco 3802 APs with stadium antennas. And so we were thinking the spectrum must be, pretty bad in this.
Crowded.
Yeah. So Drew actually took out an adapter, and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "It's a spectrum analyzer." And he showed it to me, and I thought it was pretty cool just to have that and not carry a laptop around, just carry your phone to do spectrum analysis. And
yeah,
I guess
how much is it?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I want to say it's $500 for the adapter. And I don't think there's a license for the OS. You just buy the adapter. I could be wrong, but we'll include a link in the show notes so you guys can take a look. I thought it was really cool to have that handy just in your pocket.
Yeah, it can be a good solution for, I don't know, like technicians going to check out, Wi-Fi issues or something.
Yeah, and if you just give this to somebody, have them record it, or save it somehow, if that's possible, and then send it to you, then someone's done the spectrum analysis for you. And it doesn't have to be on the iPhone. You could also use this on like an iPad, for example. So that's a bigger screen and easier to see. So that would be pretty useful.
All right. So you need the adapter for this one, obviously, to get there.
Yeah, because you won't be able to do spectrum analysis with the built-in wireless adapter of your iOS device. So this adapter just plugs in at the bottom, and it has an antenna, and it'll do the scanning for you. Just displays it with the app. So the 2.4 gigahertz only currently is listed at $299, and then the dual band one is listed for $499 US.
Okay. Interesting.
Cool. So what's the next app, Francois? What's one that you use?
So next one, let's talk about the Airport Utility app.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
So Airport Utility app is an app from Apple. And it's actually the only one on iOS that allows you to scan the networks that are around you. So like Roel said at the beginning of this episode, this feature of scanning, for different Wi-Fi around you is locked in iOS. So like developers going to use this feature if they want to develop an application. It's not like this on Android. On Android, you can develop an application and scan for Wi-Fi networks. That's why it's so easy to find an application on Android that would just scan the different Wi-Fi networks, a Wi-Fi scanner. On iOS, that's the only one that allows you to do that. So when you open the app, it's pretty boring. When you open it, nothing is happening really. And you need to prior to open the app, actually, you need to go to the settings and enable the scanning feature of the app.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, you're not going to see the little Wi-Fi scan
at the top
link
right,
at the top. Yeah, the top right. You're not going to see it, and that's what happened to me actually. Because I mentioned I just got my phone like a month ago, and then people were telling me, go to the download the Airport Utility app. You'll be able to scan Wi-Fi networks. And I was like, where can I do that?
Yeah, you don't see that on there. Yeah. You literally just go to settings, scroll down, and you'll see the list of apps. Airport Utility will be at the top, and then it says Wi-Fi scanner. You have to enable that. And then when you open Airport Utility at the top right, you'll see the little link there. Just tap it, and it says Wi-Fi scan.
Yeah, we took a couple of screenshots, so we'll include all of that in the show notes.
Yeah, and I use this all the time, especially when I want to validate the wireless network just for RSSI and channels. Because I like testing on mobile devices because that's what people use the most, right? And that's typically one of the worst performing devices on your network because people hold them in very different angles, and the Wi-Fi adapter is not the best compared to like a MacBook Pro. So it's great to see like RSSI signal strength coming from the BSSIDs. And what I do is there's a search functionality, and I just put in the SSID that I'm looking for. And typically I have like a survey SSID, and I just look at that and see how many BSSIDs do I see on what channel, what's the signal strength, and I have that set to continuously scan. And I'll walk around the area and see what I find.
Yeah, and what I really like is that if you select a specific BSSID, you're gonna have a new page with the history of all the records the phone all the measurement the phone took. And I think it's taking one measurement every couple of seconds.
Yeah, because it scans through all the channels that it supports on that iOS device. So that's why I set mine to just scan continuously. Now, it'll drain the battery if you just leave it on.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're aware of that. But I just scan, and then you could save all this, right? So if you just on the bottom left, there's an icon for sharing, and you can share that to whatever apps are available to share. And typically, I just copy and save that in notes or email it to myself.
And also, I think the history feature is useful because, let's say you're calculating the attenuation of a wall. Usually, you're gonna stay still for a couple of seconds, a few seconds and the RSSI is gonna fluctuate, right? Mm-hmm. So now with the history, you can just do an average of the like 5 or 10 last readings, and it gives
there you
average.
Go. Yeah, and I haven't thought about doing it that way, but yeah,
I got this from Gurprit, so that was a good tip.
Yeah, and that's a good point with the airport utility. A good tip because you can, when you measure, you could easily use this to measure wall attenuation and just put the AP in the middle of the room, stand on one on inside wall there of that room, and then take a couple measurements, and like you said, that do the average, and then go on the other side. It's an easy way to take measurements instead of having to bring those large tools with you everywhere you go, and this is a simple way to do it. And have somebody else just put their iPhone in the middle and turn on their hotspot, for example.
Yeah. I use the little Odroid for my AP, my Temple AP, or the...
Oh, is that the one you got from WLPC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already set up. You press, you power it on, you press a button, it just broadcasts an SSID.
Nice.
So it's really fast, ready to go, and pretty easy. Okay, so that's airport utility. That's one of the most useful Wi-Fi app on your iPhone.
Yep. I think also one of the most used apps, not even for non-Wi-Fi people, is Speed Test. So this is an app to just get it
for the CEOs.
For the CEOs and the users. Wi-Fi sucks. It's too slow. But this is just overall from your device through the AP, through your network, and out to the internet. What is your speed? And so it's a general speed test. I don't say this is the speed out to through your network. It does go through your network, but you got to keep in mind the speed test server is out in the internet as well. So there's other factors involved with the speed. But a lot of people use this to gauge the quality of your wireless network. So that's usually an indicator, and for people like us, we can figure out whether or not there really is something wrong with the network. Because if your speeds are in upwards of over 100 megabits per second, and then all of a sudden it's down to like 10 megabits per second, maybe less, then that can prompt you to start troubleshooting maybe your wireless network, or maybe different areas of your network as well that might not be related to Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Or you can use it to get a general sense of... I usually use it to test bandwidth limitation. So let's say I set the bandwidth limitation to like 15 down, I don't know, 20 down, and then 5 up, whatever.
Oh yeah, the bandwidth cap.
Bandwidth cap, throttling, and then I just use the app to make sure that it's working. And
then even if you have like a burst enabled on there, you should see the speed test burst to that rate that you have set up, and then go back down to like whatever cap you have set up initially.
Yeah. Just when you use this app, just make sure you understand what rates are configured on your Wi-Fi network and what rates are available on the device you're using. Just to know where the limitation is.
Yep. Yeah. So this is a good way to test a wireless network with everything in place: your wired side, your infrastructure, your bandwidth, your pipe out to the internet. This will test everything.
Yeah, if you don't have internet connection, you will know it because you won't be able to launch a test.
Yeah, and even simple things like, this is the IP you're coming from. Is that where you should be coming from? Because there's been times where I've done a speed test on my laptop, and I go, okay, why is it kind of slow? And then wait, that's not the IP I should be coming from. and then I realized, oh, I'm on the VPN.
Yeah. That's a perfect test. There's another speed test app that I have on my phone. It's called Speed Spot.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like the same. It just displays the information in a different way. Instead of being like a graph, it shows you like plots. I like it too. It's just a different. It does the same job. It just displays the information in a different way.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at it right now. I kind of like that bar graph that it displays because you can kind of see the peaks and the lows. Whereas speed test is just that like speedometer. Yeah, it is a different way of viewing it. Just depends how you want to view it, right?
Yeah, and also depends on which server you're selecting, right? Speed test, you can select. You have a lot of servers available, and you can select the one you want. But I found that the results can be very inconsistent, right? Inconsistent. Sometimes it's going to be consistent. Sometimes it's not going to be consistent. It matters it matters, how the server is loaded, right?
Yeah, and you want to pick a server that's closest to you. You don't want to pick, if you're doing a speed test in San Jose, you don't want to pick a speed test server that's in Australia because that's going to change your results of the speed test.
Yeah, so with Speed Spot, I found that the results are a little bit more consistent.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then another app I use, it's called NPerf. So I like NPerf because it does more than just testing the speed. So it tests the speed, download, upload, latency, and after that, it tests the browsing experience and the streaming experience.
Oh,
so it gives you like an idea of what the user experience will be. Right?
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
So after doing the speed test, it goes to 4 different websites. I think if I remember correctly, it's Facebook, Google, Yahoo, and Wikipedia. And then it tests like it just sees how long it takes to load everything, and then it gives a mark. And then after that, it downloads 3 different video clip in 3 different qualities. I think it's 240p, 360p, and then 720p. It's the same clip, but just different qualities. And then they see how long it takes to buffer and all this type of stuff. And then it gives you a mark at the end. It gives you a score.
Cool.
Right? So it's gonna give you a sense of what the user experience will be.
Yeah, that's most important. You could have a low speed test, but what about the user experience? What exactly would they be doing over wireless, and would that be sufficient enough, right? Like the YouTube is a good example. Usually I just manually load up a YouTube video, but if I can do that all in one test, do the speed test, the different tests of the video qualities and all that web testing, that's awesome. And
just the only thing you need to keep in mind when you use NPerf, at the end, it's going to give you a score. It's like it's not like the score is not really how can I say that? It's related to the device you use, right? So if your device is powerful, has a lot of CPUs and RAM and everything, you're gonna get a better score. Like if I test it on my iPhone and then I take like a cheap Android tablet and I do the same test, I might get the same speeds, but the score is going to be higher on the iPhone because I have more power, so it handles request, video, everything faster. So the score, it's just related to the device as well. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But it's a good app to get a sense of what the user experience is, and it's made by French people, so I had to promote it. Right?
You got to promote the French people's app. It must be good.
No, it's pretty good. I like.
I just downloaded it right now. I'll check it out. I don't want to ruin my Wi-Fi connection right now during our recording, but I'll test it afterwards.
You can do it from Android as well.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll download it for my Android tablet because we will do an Android episode of the different apps we use. Awesome. Why don't you go through, you're a big fan of Tamasoft, so why don't you talk about the Tamasoft app for iOS?
Yeah, time was off. We talked about the server app that you can install on Windows or Mac OS.
Mm-hmm.
And so the server app was free, and the client app is also free. And the client app, you can install it on Windows and Mac OS as well, obviously. But you can also install it on iOS and Android devices. So on iOS, basically you open the app and then you set up the IP of the throughput test server, and then you specify the port. It's going to use the QoS type, and then by default it's going to run UDP and TCP at the same time, and then you have an option to only do a TCP test, and then you launch the throughput test. It's just going to run until you stop it.
Yeah, that's useful. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm gonna have to try that out and test it for myself, because that seems like a really great way to do some throughput testing and get that visualization in there.
Yeah, you get the visualization, and it's you can share the results. You can send it via email or anything. So it's easy to export, and it just takes 2 seconds to set up, right? You go on your computer, you launch the server will tell you which IP address to connect to, and then you go on your phone, you enter the IP address, and then you start your test. So it's very fast, and it's an alternative to iPerf, right?
Yeah, because you're gonna have to know some command line and know the flags that you have to enable.
Yeah,
this is an easy way to just, if you need to do some testing real quick, this is an easy way to do it. Hey everyone, let's take a break to think about Wi-Fi for a moment. It's awesome when it works, right? But when it doesn't, the problem is usually a mystery. If you're sick of simply rebooting your devices and crossing your fingers every time your Wi-Fi goes down, let the Wi-Fi experts at MetaGeek make the invisible visible. Their powerful diagnostic solutions visualize interference from external Wi-Fi and non-Wi-Fi sources, and will help you configure your wireless network for maximum coverage and throughput. From a weekend enthusiast to an enterprise IT professional, MetaGeek has everything you need to make Wi-Fi awesome and keep it that way. Check out their solutions at metageek.com to take your first step towards awesome Wi-Fi, because I use Channelizer to actually visualize the spectrum whenever I'm troubleshooting an issue that seems to be coming from maybe a non-Wi-Fi source, for example. And I've also used the Insider Office as a network scanner to figure out what wireless networks are in the area, what channels they're using, and which channels I should use. And just a little tip, you could also plug in your Wi-Fi DBX and use that with Insider Office to get some Channelizer Lite, for example. You can see some spectrum analysis with Insider Office. If you guys are interested, take a look at metageek.com to see what you can do for your Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, and if you don't need any, with iPerf, you can probably go in much details if you want, different stream, different direction, different, clients at the same time.
You can do multiple streams from one device. Yeah.
If you want to load the server and stuff like this. But if you just want a quick test to test the Wi-Fi, Tamosoft is enough.
Cool. The next app that we have on our phones, the SSID calculator. This one has been around for, was it last year? I think it got released. And the SSID calculator comes from Revolution Wi-Fi. So this is something that was created by Andrew Vanage, and somebody also helped develop the actual, it was Ryan Adzema. He helped develop the iPhone app. So thank you to those two guys for doing this, because this calculator will provide you like the overhead of how many SSIDs you have enabled on your network. So you can set different parameters, such as what data rate is enabled, the frame size, the interval of that SSID, how much co-channel you have, and how many SSIDs. So if you play around with that, you can actually see how much overhead you're creating when you have, 7 SSIDs and you have a lot of channel overlap. And this is something I've used maybe a couple of times with management. Whenever somebody says we need to create a new SSID for for these sensors. And I always ask why. Why do you need a separate SSID? And they say for security, separate network. I'm like, well, just put it on the same SSID that everyone uses. And you could show them, well, if you add this SSID, this is how much overhead you create. And so usually when you say that to some people, they don't want to be the ones to make Wi-Fi worse. And so they'll look at other alternatives or just joining the existing SSIDs, because in my environment, lots of people like adding new SSIDs. They always want to request new SSIDs. And I'm trying to lower that down to like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not easy, huh?
No, it's never easy.
It's never easy.
It's never easy. But it's evident to see how much overhead increases if you have a lot of co-channel interference.
Yeah, and also if you use the lower data rates,
if you enable the low data
you can also
rates,
use it for educational purposes, right?
Yeah,
so you can show students, okay, this is if you use 1 megabits per second, you're gonna get the visual of, okay, it's gonna use, I don't know, 50% of the
An example would be you have the 1 megabit per second data rate enabled, and let's just say there's 5 APs overlapping and you only have one SSID. That's 16% of overlap. But let's say there's 5 SSIDs. There's going to be 80% overlap. Or overhead. Sorry. That's crazy. So that's a crazy amount. So this is something to look at. And if you just click on the downward facing triangular arrow, you'll see a link there that says read more about why, and that'll actually go to a blog post from Andrew Van Aj, and he talks about limiting SSIDs and data rates to maintain network performance. And he goes into detail about that. So that's actually a really good post that he wrote up back in 2010, and I think it's still relevant today. Yeah,
exactly. We just have less networks with 1 megabits as a default, at the lowest data rate I found now. People are starting to disable B and but it's still relevant. It's still relevant for sure.
Yeah, you don't want to just disable B just because. You want to make sure you don't have clients that are using B for some reason. I mean, there's environments out there that have
sometimes you have neighbors that have you have neighbors that have like Linksys AEPs, and then by default it's enabled, so you're going to see it in the air.
And that's SSID calculator, and that's free to download, and suggest downloading that for educational purposes and for planning purposes as well.
Exactly.
So the next apps, why don't we talk about the Cisco apps? There's a handful of Cisco apps that are available. The first one I want to talk about is Cisco Wireless. It's called Cisco Wireless, but what you could do is use it to connect to one of your controllers to monitor it. And it's just for monitoring. You're not going to be able to change a bunch of settings on your controller, but it's a great way to just access your controller to get some details real quick on a phone. And the other thing you could use Cisco Wireless is to provision something like, I've done it to provision Cisco Mobility Express. And that's really easy to do, because if you get a Mobility Express AP, plug it in, by default, it'll display an SSID called Cisco Air Provision, I believe. And if you just associate to that, you can then provision your Mobility Express controller through this app. So it's really easy to do and get that going quickly. So that's Cisco Wireless. Do you have anything to add about Cisco Wireless, Francois?
No, I used it at home for my controller. I don't have much on it. But I'm sure if you connect it at work to your controller you have on campus, I'm sure you can have much more useful information out of it. Yeah. But yeah, I just use it to play around, basically.
Yeah, so we use it primarily for lab testing. I don't know anyone else who actually uses it in full production, but it's an app to look at and test out.
Also, you have to be on the same network, right?
Yeah. So in my campus environment, we can't manage. I won't be able to connect to it from the SSID, but we have different rules set up, but that's just one of the apps to look at. So the other Cisco app is there's a Fastlane app, and for those of you that don't know what Fastlane is, that's from the Cisco and Apple partnership, and it's a app that will tell you if you're on an SSID that's got Fastlane enabled. That's pretty much all it is to it. It's sad because I'm connected to my network and I'm testing out another AP, so it's not Fastlane capable, and it's in big text that says you're not connected to Cisco Fastlane, and it says my network is slow. It's not slow. I'll just say that.
So is it an app they used for their testing, and they just decided to release it to everyone?
Yeah, you can download it and you can do tests. It's kind of like that one app you were talking about where you could change QoS markings.
Yeah.
So you can do the same thing with this one and send traffic.
Okay.
How many megabytes to send and what QoS marking to make it, and then you could start the tests. And so I'll just need to play with Fastlane to get some more information out there for you guys and let you know what that's like. There's another Cisco app called, I think it's Cisco, called Fast Traffic, and it's fast traffic for mobile enterprise. I don't know how much of this app is really used because now that the Fastlane QoS app is there. I think this is an old app actually, but it does the same thing. It's more of like a red, yellow, green light, and it says you're not connected to fast traffic, but really they mean Fastlane, and it tells you how to activate Fastlane on your wireless network, and then you could do a test, so very similar to the other one. But I like the other one, which is called Fastlane QoS, and I think that is the one to use right now. So those are the three Cisco apps that I have on my phone.
It tells me my Wi-Fi is slow too.
Don't be fooled, guys. Just because you don't have Fastlane on, it does not mean your wireless network is slow. And funny. I think we should have an episode on Fastlane in the future. Yeah. Once I can get that going on my controller and get an app to be authorized as Fastlane, it'll be interesting to see.
Your network will be fast.
It's already fast. All right. So what's the other tool that you use on your phone?
So I have another app I've used recently because I worked on an Aruba project, and the app is called Aruba Blue Console. And basically you can console in into an AP using Bluetooth and using your phone. So the new Aruba APs, they have a Bluetooth chip in it, a BLE chip. And you just open the app and it's going to scan for the APs that are around you, and it's just going to discover the APs, and then you can connect on one and use the console access to console in wirelessly.
That is a really cool feature. But the question is that enabled by default?
Yes.
So I can go to maybe someone who hasn't configured their network properly, and if they left that on, I can see if I can connect to the console.
That's a good question. Yeah,
I'll try that out. I know a couple of places that use Aruba APs. I'll see if they have the Bluetooth
it has
connection.
To be the new APs, huh? So, but because basically the new APs have a new connector for the console cable. Right? It's like a 2-pin connector. It's like it looks very you need a new adapter in order to console in. It's not the regular one. So it's not really convenient. So, and I was asking actually I found out about this app because I put a picture on Twitter saying that, why did Aruba change the connector? And we got this weird new connector, and they were saying you can console in using your phone and Bluetooth now. So I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a useful feature because you have APs that are mounted on the ceiling and you need to connect to it for some reason to troubleshoot it, or maybe something's wrong with it, so you need to log into that AP specifically and send some commands to make it, connect to the right controller, for example. So I think that's a really nice feature.
I think it's a very good idea. Well, the first time I tried it and I tested it, it was, it's cool. It works. You can console in and you have access to the prompt and everything. But if you think about it, the only time you want to console into an AP, it's when it doesn't work and when it doesn't reach, when it doesn't join the controller, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the default behavior of an AP that doesn't join the controller, it just keeps rebooting. But when the AP keeps rebooting, the Bluetooth card within the AP
that also reboots
well.
Also? Oh,
exactly. So you're not able to console in to see what's going on in the AP when it's booting up. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's not going to work then.
So
it sounds like you're going to get on a ladder anyways to get to that AP. The question is though, since it's Bluetooth, it's low energy, right? Yeah, so what's the distance you think? If it's a really high ceiling, you're probably not going to get to that.
One of these selfie sticks. And then you bring your phone closer to the AP. I don't know.
But then how are you going to type on the phone?
Yeah. You use a Bluetooth keyboard? I don't know.
And then binoculars to see the screen.
I don't know. I think it's a good idea, but it's not that useful.
Probably very limited use, very specific scenarios. But still a really nice feature to add in there, because there's not many times where I get on a ladder and connect a console cable to the to the AP and sit there to try to figure out what's going on. Being able to do that wirelessly, it reminds me of the Air Console. So if it was like a built-in Air Console and then there was an app on your phone where you could just connect to it and start typing commands, that'd be awesome. Or even if it was just on your laptop and you can connect to it to the console port wirelessly.
Well, it would be nice if we could use the same app to connect to Air Console.
Yeah.
I've never tried it, actually. Maybe it works. I don't know. But yeah, that's a cool way to do it.
Yeah, I'm
a big fan of consoling it wirelessly.
I use Air Console with APs that if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm testing a bunch of stuff, I'll plug it into the AP. But then that's a good question. If there's a USB port on the AP, you could just connect an Air Console to it and have it powered up and just leave it there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just very... there's not too many scenarios where you're going to have to get into the console port, but it is a very convenient feature to have if you can connect to the console port wirelessly, basically, is all it really comes down to.
Yeah, and maybe I wasn't using the app correctly. Maybe someone is going to correct me and we're going to receive an email saying, okay, Francois, you can actually use this app in order to find out what's going on the AP when it reboots. I would love to learn anyway.
Yeah. If somebody has some really cool tip about using that port, yeah, by all means, let us know and we'll announce that on the next episode, because we're all about sharing. And if there's something that we get wrong, I don't mind that somebody corrects me. I mean, I'm going to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah, that's how we learn.
So I think that's all the apps we talked about that we wanted to talk about with Wi-Fi. Is there any other apps you want to talk about, Francois?
Well, I listed a couple of other apps that are not Wi-Fi related, but that are useful for us as Wi-Fi engineers. The first one is Adobe, the Adobe app to read PDFs, Adobe Acrobat, and you can actually annotate floor plans.
Okay.
So let's say you have an iPad and you have all your floor plans, and you're doing like the walk through with a customer. You can annotate. Let's say it tells you, okay, in this room, in this conference room, we have usually 20 people. You can annotate it in your floor plan. When you do your wall measurement, your wall attenuation measurements, you can document it right there on the PDF file, and it's useful for that. All right.
Yeah, definitely.
And then a couple of notes app. So Evernote and Bear. I used to use Evernote. Now I use Bear. I like it. But basically, it's just like application to take notes, and you can sync it with your Mac. So you can keep your information up to date. I use it usually when I prepare my on-site visits. I just prepare everything on my Mac, and then I save it in my note apps. If I need a to-do list or anything like this, I just have everything ready, all the information I need ready, contact information, address, all this type of stuff. And then so when I go on site, I have everything on my phone. For people that have an iPad and an Apple Pencil, there's this app called Note Shelf, and you can basically draw any type of drawings, different colors, and you have a lot of features. So you could draw stuff on the iPad and show to people. If you want to draw network diagrams, stuff like this, it's you don't have to pull out paper. You can just do it on a tablet, so it can be useful. Or if you just want to draw a sun and a house because you're bored in the train or something, you can do that as well.
Work on your art skills and work on the creativity side of your brain.
Exactly. And then there's this app called Theodolite. I got this one from Keith Person from his ECSC training, and it's basically an app that takes pictures, and then that gives you more information about the picture, the angle you took the picture with, the latitude, longitude, and all this type of useful information that you could use if you want to document how, for instance, an external antenna will be installed. So the angle of the antenna, and the direction. If you take a picture, you can provide it to the installer, and the installer will just go back on site and try to find the same view and install the antennas the same way.
Cool.
That was a tip from Keith. And then the last app I have is the camera app. That's probably the one I use the most when I'm on site. I just take a lot of pictures, even if I don't use all of them after that.
Yeah, if you need to add it to a report or to send to somebody.
Sometimes when you do your design, you're like, oh no, I need to move this AP, and then you move it somewhere else on the floor plan, and you're like, oh, I wonder what the ceiling looks like at this location. Yeah. And then you can go back in pictures and be like, okay, I'm good here. Oh, I can place it here. And then it helps you to do your work, basically. So that's about it for the apps.
The one app that I have, it's not really Wi-Fi related, but you can use it over Wi-Fi. It's called Reflection, and it's basically like an SSH client. And so if I'm out in the field and all I have is my phone and I need to just configure something really quick and it has to be command line, I can just SSH to, whatever the device is and actually just use the keyboard to type commands. It's much harder to do it on your phone, to be honest. Yeah. But, if you're pretty good with command line and the commands, it gets the job done real quick. Because a lot of times I don't really bring my laptop with me. I'll just have like very small set of tools, or maybe I'm just out somewhere and I get called to fix something and I can just do it real quick.
Or if you have an iPad with a keyboard, it might be easier.
It's easier. Some people have iPads. I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, I want an iPad now. I saw the new iPad Pro. I'm like, oh, this thing is good.
I've been holding off too long, but I have a Google Pixel. Now, I'm sure there's an SSH client on that. I just don't bring it with me everywhere I go. But
they have one on Android. I forgot the name, but when we do the episode on Android, I'll bring it up.
Yeah. Just for some reason, I'm not a tablet guy, but maybe I should try using it more often.
Yeah, I'm not a tablet guy either.
Well, those are our apps. We'll have a list of all of them on the show notes if you head over to cleardescend.net/82. And before we end the episode, I actually do want to share some reviews that people have left us on the podcast.
Well, just before you do that, sorry. Just one thing we didn't mention.
Yeah.
Most of these apps are free.
Yeah, most of them are free, except for probably the app for Osium is free, but you have to buy the adapter.
Yeah.
But I think every single one is free, which is great because they're all very great, useful tools.
Yeah. So go ahead and play with them. So now you can share the love.
Now we can share the love that people have left us. We actually have 17 ratings, and we're at 5 stars for the podcast. So thank you guys for reviewing us on iTunes. Wow. It's 2 of the latest reviews. Some of these guys have really interesting usernames on iTunes. So this one's from MacDaddy707. And he says, power up your Wi-Fi. If you're a bit techie, geeky, or a home Wi-Fi enthusiast, this is a great podcast to listen to. Although it may be a little too technical for the complete novice to understand, I think most listeners will learn something new. I give it 5 stars and 2 thumbs up. So thank you, Macadaddy.
Thank you.
And then the second one comes from TJ88. He says, excellent podcast for engineers. Highly informative podcasts. I listen to these when I travel with work periodically. Not boring like other podcasts I've heard. So thank you for that review. I'm glad we're not that boring.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It can be hard, because we're not like professional radio guys.
Yeah, we're not comedic, and we don't have radio voices, and we don't have cool jokes. But yeah, we try to make Wi-Fi tech as fun as possible, even though it can be very dry.
Yeah. All right.
So those are the 2 reviews. Thank you guys for reviewing. If you would like to leave a review, you can actually head over to cleartosend.net/iTunes, and that'll take you right to the iTunes page and leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing, and we would gladly appreciate it. What else did I want to bring up on this episode? I know that you're going to be traveling.
You're going to be somewhere special next week. Maybe you can talk about that.
That's on the Saturday, end of next week. So on the Saturday, that's June 23rd, I will be in Las Vegas for Cisco Live. And actually, yeah, that's a good point. There is going to be at Cisco Live this thing called the podcast domain and other fun stuff at Cisco Live. And there's going to be a section in the world of solutions where the different podcasts can set up and interview Cisco engineers. And so I will be there. I will interview some Cisco engineers. We're still working on some dates and times. So once that actually gets ironed out and finalized, I'll probably publish that on a blog on cleartosend.net and also share that on social media. So that way, if you want to come join me and hear what some of the Cisco engineers have to say about wireless and mobility and all that, please come join us in the world of solutions. There's also going to be some other podcasts as well. I don't know who else is going to be there just yet, but hopefully they publish that soon, and I'll let everyone know. I'm pretty sure the other wireless guys will be there. I'm not sure actually who's going to be there, but I know I am. But yeah. It's going to be a place to kind of hang out with other people. There's going to be a sticker exchange, so I will have my stickers there. But yeah, it is in the world of solutions that is going to be close to the broadcast studio. It's right across from the Cloud Data Center Village, right on Innovation Street.
Sounds good.
Yep. You won't be at Cisco Live, but you're going to be someplace awesome and beautiful in France, right?
Yeah.
You'll be on a vacation.
Yeah. I'm going on vacation. So it's going to be my brother's wedding. So it's going to be, I'm going to enjoy myself, take some time off.
Probably drink a lot of wine.
Relax. Yeah. Not just any wine, the best wine.
The best wine. Oh, sorry. No, that's great. I'm jealous. And, maybe one day we'll do the podcast from France.
That would be awesome.
The French episode. Awesome. You should do an episode in French. How about that?
Yeah, for sure. Invite some French Wi-Fi guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of French Wi-Fi guys out there. I know that for sure.
All right.
Well, that's where we'll be in the next couple of weeks. You can find me online at Roel Dionisio on Twitter and also at ClearToSend. The show notes will be at cleartosend.net/82. So where can people find you, Francois?
On Twitter, Verges Francois, and on my blog, sunfirenetworks.com/blog. Yeah, and thank you guys for listening. Like always, it's a pleasure. We're getting a lot of we're getting questions from you guys. We're getting reviews and good reviews. So we're gonna make sure we're gonna keep going.
Yep, we have a lot more topics to talk about. Just requires a lot of planning on our end, but hey, we're trying to keep up and provide some information to everybody. And also, we're learning along the way as well. There's definitely a lot of topics to cover and a lot of technology to refresh myself on, because I don't know everything. But yeah, I do have resources to test things and ask questions from other people as well.
It's hard to keep up with everything, every vendor, and like this week I'm very thankful for the wonderful community we have. As soon as you ask a question, you have someone helping you out in the hour or so. So it's amazing, right? Because I was working with Ruba for a while, and then I was back on the Cisco project this week, and then I had some questions, obvious question, I guess, and people were helping me a lot. So
awesome.
It's we have a pretty good community, so that's awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for listening, and if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to shoot us a message. We actually enjoy hearing feedback and how else we can improve the podcast. So thank you again for listening, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.